Everyone who'd meant anything was gone. Like so many times before, I'd found myself alone, locked on a course of destruction.
And fuck you anyway!
Alone in the Dark is one of the most influential gaming series of all time. The original games can be clunky and frustrating, but they were extremely innovative at the time. It's already been 30 years, the next game didn't do anything new, but it was fun, spooky, and it played well.
Have you come up with anything? Because I'm freezing my nuts off out here.
Well, you sure had that coming.
And now we finally arrived at this point in time. Welcome to the most controversial game in the franchise.
Oh my god!
I wanted to call it the most hated Alone in the Dark game, but that award goes to this pile of garbage, and that is the only time I'll mention it. No, this game isn't really hated. Well, it kind of is, but kind of isn't. I don't hate it, for the most part. I mostly hate some things towards the end, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyone who played this game knows too well how bad it can get, but no matter what people say about it, or how much I'm going to complain about it, just know that it's way better than some of the shit stains we got in 2023. You know what I'm talking about. Red Fail, Gollum, Rise of Dung, and the scam before. Hetfu. At least Alone in the Dark has some interesting ideas, and it's playable. Kind of. Eventually. This is a very special game in the series. People don't really hate it, but people don't want to play it either. Not just because it's janky as hell, but mainly because it won't even work. Let's quickly get the technical stuff out of the way. First of all, what the fuck is this? I don't think there's a single other game on Steam that does this. Even though I bought the game on Steam, it still asks me to put in a CD key. Remember those? I was at a loss at first, but after digging a bit, I found that you need to go here and you'll find your CD key. Then you copy and paste it here and you're good to go. Oh, you think it's over? No, no, no. Now the real fun begins. The game freezes and you get a black screen. There's nothing you can do. Task Manager won't save you. I had to restart my PC. I thought it might have something to do with the resolution of the game, so I tried the same thing I did in the previous Alone in the Dark. Didn't work. After digging some more, I found out that you need to download some DLL files. I know it might sound shady, and I won't blame you if you don't want to take the risk. Especially not for this game, so instead, just watch me play it. I did it so you don't have to. Now it finally works. Which is a great start. But you can probably see another problem. Yeah, the resolution. Why is it on 800 by 600 by default? If you try to change it, the game just changes it back. Not only that, sometimes the game just gets stuck in this cutscene. It's a gamble if it will even get to the main menu. I couldn't find any solution online, and I was thinking about giving up on the Steam version and maybe trying to emulate the Xbox 360 version, but I decided to try something random. I disabled the HDR option, and boom, it works. It's probably not random, and there's probably some tech nodes who know how this works, but I'm not a tech node, I'm just a regular node. But the point is, it works. No black screen, perfect resolution, and the game doesn't reset my fucking settings. That was fun. Let's talk about the game itself. So Alone in the Dark was created by Infogrames, which inspired Resident Evil, but then they made a reboot, and this time, they were the ones inspired by Resident Evil. And then some stuff happened and Infogrames became Atari. They were the publishers, but the company that actually developed the 2008 reboot is Eden Games, who previously made a lot of racing games. Oh, this makes so much sense. You'll understand why soon enough. This is also one of the only games that I know of that was developed for the 7th generation consoles and on the PS2 at the same time. It looks like a remake of the game, which makes sense. It was probably super impressive from a technical viewpoint. It was actually super impressive on all consoles, but the PS2 version doesn't have James McCaffrey. You know, the guy who voices Max Payne? Well, he used to voice Max Payne. Sadly, he passed away on December 17, 2023. He gave us such an amazing performance as Max Payne, and in every game he was a part of. From everything I've seen of him, he was a very talented person and a good friend, especially to Remedy Entertainment, who still worked with him even a few months prior to him passing away. He managed to deliver one final amazing performance in Alan Wake 2. He was a legend, and I'll always remember him. Rest in peace.
So thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Sorry to start the video on a somber note, but we obviously need to pay respect to James. Not only because of his amazing performances, but also because someone actually convinced him that it would be a good idea to be in this mess of a game. We need to respect him for his bravery. On paper, this game sounds like one of the best games ever, but in reality...
Ouch! Hey, aim it somewhere else. Hey! Do you find that funny? What the hell are you doing? Ouch!
Let's get into it.
Are you mad or what? Hey! Do you find that funny?
Before we get into the story, I need to explain the gameplay and some other stuff. Skip to this time if you don't care about it, and you just want to know what's going on in this game. The very first thing you'll notice are the Xbox controls. For some reason, that's just how it is, in the official Steam version. I think there's a patch that fixes it, but it didn't really bother me, so I left it like that. So what do you do in this game? You mainly fight zombie monsters and avoid environmental hazards. Sounds familiar, right? But how do you do that, you ask? Well, listen to this. You can shoot them and you can hit them. The only weapon you can carry is the pistol. That means there's no shotguns or rifles or anything like that. Which is weird. Every game in the series had multiple weapons. Even the first game had a pistol, a rifle, and a fucking crossbow. Though that was used more as a puzzle item. But you don't really need to use the pistol to shoot enemies, because the enemies in this game are pretty much invincible. Their only weakness is fire. They burn up real good. The only enemies that can be killed with the pistol are these bugs and bad things. So what's the point of having a pistol if you can't use it on the enemies? Well, you see, you need to be a little bit open-minded. Think outside of the box. You don't use the pistol to shoot enemies, you use the pistol to blow shit up. Luckily, it seems every person in this game throws away tons of spray cans and bottles of alcohol. Everything is an explosive. Alcohol, bug spray. Even your medical spray can be used as an explosive, which is also a Resident Evil reference. You throw an explosive item at the enemy's face, blow it up, and watch them burn. Everything you pick up can be stored in your inventory. It's kind of small, which is annoying at first, but as the game goes on, you realize that you don't really need much space to begin with. There's a light crafting system. You can combine items like bandages and alcohol to create a Molotov cocktail. You can use a spray and a lighter to get a makeshift flamethrower. And the coolest thing you can do is pour an explosive glass bottle, which I assume is alcohol. You can pour it on your gun, and now you have flaming bullets. I have no idea how that works, but at least now the pistol is actually useful. All of that is nice, but there are other ways to defend yourself against these beasts. You can pick up pretty much anything that isn't nailed down, kind of, and use it as a weapon, which is very cool and reminds me of Condemned, and anything that reminds me of Condemned's gameplay automatically gets a gold star. So that's the good part. The bad part is, like I said, this game sounds awesome on paper, but it doesn't have the best execution. You need to move the mouse, or the right stick on consoles, to move the weapons around. Depending on the angle of the weapon, you will perform different attacks from different directions, which is usually super awkward. Sometimes you just bounce off of walls, or you don't do the attack you wanted to do. The good thing is that when holding a weapon, you'll be able to block attacks. But as you can imagine, the jankiness of this game can lead to some game over screens. So it's a good idea this game has really quick load times. Basically no load times at all. Instant respawn. Otherwise this game would be unbearable. Like with the pistol, you can't kill enemies with melee weapons. You need fire. Luckily there's always fire nearby when you need it.
Oh fuck.
So you pick up a flammable weapon and light it up. Then you just need to touch the enemy and voila, So basically, if you don't have fire, you're fucked. If you do have fire, it's like you turned on God mode. Let's talk about the fire a little more.
Fire! 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 Fire!
I have been waiting for you. I am fire. Listen to me. I am going to command you, and you will do exactly as I say.
Yes, fire! Tell me what to do, and I will obey. Yes.
This game probably has the best fire physics in the whole world. Look at this shit. There's fire everywhere. Almost everything is flammable. You can light up a chair and then use it as a torch. Who needs a flashlight when you have thick, burning wood? While writing the script for this video, I remembered that I watched a YouTube video about this game when it first came out, and I was shocked by the graphics. They looked so good to me back then. I literally thought I was looking at live action footage, and now, more than 15 years later, it still looks nice. Obviously, it doesn't look as realistic as it did when I was a kid, but it still looks pretty good. This is the first and probably the last time in the series where you can go into a first-person perspective. It's cool that you can do it, but you also have to do it in order to use the pistol and some other things. Yeah, you can't shoot while you're in third-person mode. Speaking of, this was also the first time where you could go into what we now know as the modern third-person perspective. But sometimes the game will have a fixed camera. I think this is the last big-budget AAA game to use a fixed camera perspective. I guess Silent Hill Downpour had some random sections with a fixed camera. Also the Heavy Rain and Until Dawn type of games.
Jason! Jason! Jason!
Once again, this series is taking inspiration from the games that first took inspiration from it. When you're in third-person mode, it changes to the RE4 style of camera. Every game started doing that after Resident Evil 4 came out, but Alone in the Dark decided to also copy how RE4 controlled the protagonist. You see, in most shooters, when you press left or right, you strafe left or right, respectively. When you press left or right in Alone in the Dark, you turn left or right, which is fucking weird. Why would you do that? It's so awkward to turn, especially during combat. It somehow worked in RE4, it worked well with the combat system of that game. It felt alright, and also this camera style was still new. But Alone in the Dark came out 3 years later. Since then, we had games like Gears of War, Uncharted, and basically every third-person shooter that came out at that time. They already showed us how to properly use this style of camera, and they perfected the art of strafing left and right. So it's weird that this game didn't follow their lead. Also, you can look over your shoulder, which also reminds me of Downpour and Shattered Memories. And also, you can see your legs and body when you're in first person, which is something I like. But yeah, speaking of Uncharted, this game has some platforming, which isn't great in third person, but it's fine in first person. But the main thing are these bombastic sections where you're climbing on ropes and everything's exploding around you. This game really likes those sections. It tries to be spooky, but it also tries to be an action Hollywood movie. Obviously, if you're looking for a spooky game, you don't really want to see stuff like this. But it works fine for the most part, and it can look cool. Occasionally, you need to use your platforming skills to deal with some physics puzzles. This game really likes its physics puzzles. Fortunately, I also like them, even though they aren't really challenging here. But they are inventive, especially for the time. Like here, you need to go down, but the fence is full of electricity because of this thing on the left. You need to use your body to move it so that it will stop electrifying the fence. You physically need to push it, and now you can proceed. And here, I moved the rope with the chair and it stopped electrifying the water. Simple, but kind of creative. I don't remember seeing something like this in other video games. Half-Life 2 came out 4 years prior, and it revolutionized games with its physics engine. And it really wanted to show it off, so it had lots of physics-based puzzles. Alone in the Dark took a page from Half-Life, so it also has a seesaw puzzle. There's a fire up here, and you can't get past it. You need to get this fire extinguisher to where the fire is in order to, well, extinguish it, but it's stuck on a lower floor and you can't just carry it up. So you put it here, jump on this rope and pull it up. Again, Pretty simple, but creative. Those are only some of the puzzles though. There's another type of puzzle, which, well, I don't know if I can call it a puzzle. Sometimes we need to hotwire some electric panels in order to progress. This can be done by moving the mouse up, but you need to do it slowly or you will take damage. You can also switch between the wires in each hand. You can even hotwire cars, which is neat, but people usually leave their keys inside. I guess that's common in New York, but why would you even do that? Well, because you can drive in this game. What? You think it's weird that a survival horror game has lots of driving sections in semi-open world locations? I obviously don't see the issue. But yeah, it's weird. But it does make sense if you look at the company's history again. It might have been okay, and even good. If it didn't suck, you can clearly see what they were going for. Epic chase sequences, cool shots of you driving off cliffs. They wanted you to feel like you've barely survived something really dangerous, and you narrowly escaped. But they also wanted you to look cool. And you know what? It does look cool. Unfortunately, controlling the car is as cool as taking a shit on the floor. Which is not cool. It just smells. Look at this. Why is the car so bouncy? Controlling the car isn't too bad as long as you don't hit anything. Because if you do, you will lose control of your entire being. Also, you can switch to first person while driving. You shouldn't do that, but it's nice to have the option. You can jump from the car and pretend like you're in an action chase scene. The car is actually way more interactable than you might think. Other than just driving, you can look around inside of the car. You can change seats, turn on the lights, turn on the radio, which doesn't work. You can search the car and find useful items. So it's a game that tries to combine survival horror style gameplay with limited inventory and limited resources, Uncharted style platforming and action set pieces, hack and slash style of gameplay, an arsonist's wet dream, physics puzzles, and the entire GTA franchise, minus the prostitute killing. Calling it overly ambitious would be an understatement.
Wow!
But the game can be very dynamic sometimes. Is that a ghost cart? Do you take cash or credit? Also, this is the only game that lets you reenact that scene from horror movies. You know, where the guy runs away from monsters or a dangerous person, finds a car, and barely manages to get it running, just in time to drive away. But enough stalling. Let's check out the damage, and by that I mean the story. We wake up to some noisy people, and one of them comes up to check on us. He tells us to look at him, but I decided to be a rebel and kept looking at my crotch. They didn't find it funny, so they fucking shot me. A bit of an exaggeration, I would say. So next time I do listen to them, and this is where we learn that we can blink. Yeah, you can actually blink in a video game. Realistic, I know. I thought you could only do that in SCP. Even though you learn about it early on, this mechanic will only be useful towards the end of the game. Anyway, we find out that these guys aren't exactly here to help us. They want that old man over there to tell them how to use some kind of mystical stone. They also decide that they don't need us. So one of them leads us to the roof so he can kill us there. I don't know why they can't just shoot us here. I mean, they do that when you refuse to look at them. They take the old man to an elevator and one of them takes us to the roof. But on the way, we see some cracks in the walls. And then this happens.
Wait! No!
Something grabs him and drags him away. We don't know what it is, but at least we're safe. For now, we walk around for a bit until we see our handsome reflection in a mirror.
Beautiful eyes.
And we realize that we don't know who we are. We have amnesia. No, not that kind of amnesia. The game then switches to third person, and then I almost break the game. Finally, I know what it's like to be a speedrunner. Speaking of skipping the game, this is where I discover a game mechanic that I've never seen in any other video game. You can literally skip parts of the game. It's like you're watching a TV show. You can skip ahead or rewind to parts of the game you've never even seen yet, which, like a lot of things in this game, is a cool idea. But why the fuck would you give players the option to just skip your game? Were the developers embarrassed by their own game? Also, every level starts with a recap of previous events. When games try to be like TV shows, it's mostly pretentious and unnecessary. But it can be useful if you haven't played for a while and need a refresher. It's good as long as you can skip it. Anyway, we jump on this elevator and see this old man again. The bad guys try to threaten him, but the cracks in the walls interrupt their conversation. The elevator falls and we manage to escape. We climb down a rope and meet a woman in trouble. We save her husband, or boyfriend, or pimp, or whoever this guy is. We do it by breaking this door. He could have done that himself, but he was too busy bitching and complaining.
That won't work. We need to figure another way to open it. Thank God you finally got your ass here. I'm hurt and I can't open this door. Now what's the deal with this building?
The fact that the door breaks exactly where you hit it is very impressive and dynamic. Too bad it's so awkward to do it. Soon after, we get a gun, and we can just shoot the lock, which is also cool. The cracks finally decide to attack us, and we are grabbed. Here we see for the first time that whatever this supernatural force is, it's weak to fire. For now, there's kind of a spooky vibe, right? It's creepy and you don't know what's going on. So obviously, the game turns into Uncharted. A man tries to help us, but he dies. Bye bye. Then a car flies at me from the bottom of the street. I'll be honest, I did not expect that. Eventually we meet this woman again, and oh, she's gone. Oh wait, she's back.
Who are you? What have you done to her?
She's one of my hosts now, as you once were. You, my most perfect puppet.
This is our first encounter with a possessed human. These guys and gals are strong, and they can mess you up pretty bad. But we have a caveman's greatest discovery on our side.
Fire!
We carry on and meet up with... this woman.
Christ, it's about time. What the hell's going on? Not a cop, are you? Right! My rescuer is more fucked up than I am. Hey, that's enough. The only son of a bitch I see here...
Yeah, she... I don't like her. I don't think anyone who played this game likes her.
Come on, help me up there! Don't try to take advantage of the situation.
Don't flatter yourself.
What a Sigma male. Am I right, fellas? We find a flashlight and fight more zombie men. Look, I'm hitting on her.
Do you find that funny?
Don't worry, she deserves it. She's probably the least useful character in any game that I've ever played. Not only in gameplay, but in the story too. Sometimes she acts nice, but she's mostly annoying. Eileen also had her bad moments in the previous game, but at least she did things. She was actually useful, like Edward, sometimes even more. We then get ambushed in a cutscene. It's one of the bad guys from the beginning. He also transformed. It seems like the presence inside of him knows us. For some reason, it cannot take over our body, like it does with everyone else. So it tries to negotiate.
Join me. No more pain. No more fear. You only have to die.
You're quite a negotiator.
But whatever spooky build-up the game tried to build, it instantly goes away when an enemy ragdolls from a single hit. At this point, you already know what to do. Grab a chair, light it on fire, and burn everyone. There's no point in using any other weapon. We find the old man, and he seems to know us well. but we don't remember him because of our amnesia.
You know him?
No, I don't think so. But then again,
He doesn't recognize me. I'm Theophile Paddington. I'm sorry, Edward. The ritual was so hard on your psyche. A large part of your memories have been sacrificed in the process.
Theophile, if you know me, who the hell am I?
No time to tell you everything.
He can't explain everything to us until we get out of here. And how do we get out of here? Driving! As I've explained before, driving can be super janky. But as long as you don't bump into anything, you should be fine.
We have to go back up there if we want to reach the exit. We have to jump over this! This is not driving! This is murder! They're coming! Floor it!
Oh my god, shut up! Eventually we crash the car and we get to the best mechanic in all of video game history. QuickTime events. Not just any normal QuickTime events. You have to mash the button a few times, then a second button appears, so now you need to mash it while at the same time holding the first button. Or at least that's what I think you're supposed to do. I died a few times and it was garbage. Luckily, I managed to skip the QuickTime event by standing next to the fire. Eventually we get out and see what's going on in the big city. This isn't Detroit, by the way. It's New York.
It's the epicenter. I have unleashed a wickedness that waited centuries for revenge. This is what I released you from, Edward. What was trapped in the stone.
And now it wants it back. What's with this fucking stone?
The old man, Theo, basically tells us that this evil force wants the stone and that we need to go to Central Park.
What's with this fucking stone?
The ground is starting to go wild. Welcome to the most bullshit driving section in the game. Remember how I showed you that the developers only made racing games before this? You would think they would nail the driving part at least, but oh well. At least that explains why there's even driving in the first place. Every complaint I mentioned about the driving is on full display here. This part took me many tries. The game really didn't want me to succeed. Even the police fucked me up.
Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! Watch out!
But eventually, I make it. I don't think this was as epic as the developers intended. We're finally back to the normal gameplay, but then Theo pulls out a gun, he gives us the stone, and then well...
I will not be your puppet! Do you hear me? Meet me at the museum, Edward. Room 943. No!
Damn, didn't expect that. Brave old man. He didn't do it because he's insane or suicidal. He did it to avoid being controlled by whatever makes people possessed. But he also did it so he could meet us at a museum.
Room 943.
How does that make sense? Well, I've beaten the game and even I don't know how it works. But you'll see, after all of that, we get introduced to another great mechanic. Bleeding!
Jesus, you're cut! Almost down to the bone!
I'll be alright.
You're probably in shock and can't feel it. The museum is 30 blocks away. If you want to reach it, we have to stop this bleeding. Do you hear me?
I'd rather bleed out than keep listening to you. We have 7 minutes until we bleed to death. In order to stop the bleeding, we have to find a bandage. Don't worry though, this mechanic isn't as important as it seems. There's usually lots of bandages lying around, but I found the best solution. Just do what Theo did. Reload your save, and you respawn with no bleeding. Don't try this at home, kids. But this technique doesn't work here. We have to find an ambulance. Okay, not this way. This way. But before that, we grab Theo's phone and get a call from Crowley. This ugly bastard. Remember him? I barely remember him. He threatens and taunts us. But that's not important. Look at this phone. Look at all these options. There's a contact list, and you can put in any number you want. You can even put it on buzzer and silent mode. Cool. There's also a map, which will be useful much later. Oh, and his number is 666. How fitting. The phone is really not important, because even with all these options, you're still limited to what the game wants you to do. For example, you can call any number, but no one will answer. I just wanted to mention it because it gives you so much options. But yeah, it's mostly pointless. What isn't pointless is Crowley's second call.
How's the memory, Mr. Carnby? Still lost in Wonderland?
Carnby.
Yes, that's your name, you poor fool. Edward Carnby.
We finally know what our name is. It's Edward Carnby, which is obvious because it's an Alone in the Dark game, but at the same time, not so obvious, because he doesn't really look like him.
Fuck!
Why do they change him in every game? And where's my mustache? Eventually we get to the ambulance, and we get something way more important than some bandages.
Full name, please? Edward Carnby.
Memory coming back?
Yeah, something like that. Okay, have a seat and let me take a look while it searches.
The doctor heals us, and he also finds some information about us.
What do you got?
Must have pulled the wrong file.
Let me see. Professor Edward Carnby. Researcher. Paranormal investigator. Huh? Solved the case of Jeremy Hartwood's suicide at Tercito's Manor in 1924. Disappeared under strange circumstances in 1938. What the fuck?
Never mind.
Here. Notable scars and marks. Large scar on the left side of the face.
It'll mean you're like
100 years old. What the fuck?
It's confirmed. We're not just a reboot version of Edward, like in the last game. It's literally the same person. The original, red-haired Edward. That means that this game is not a reboot. It's a sequel.
It's an ocean.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Exactly. I don't know what happened between those games, but I want an explanation about his change in hair color. We can see a plot summary of the first two games. That's a really nice touch actually, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who wants to forget about the third game. So this game isn't a reboot. It's canon. Also, he's like 100 years old. This stone somehow kept him alive all of this time, but it also gave him amnesia. So what do we do with this newfound information? Nothing, I guess. We have another awful driving section where we need to avoid these bats. But it doesn't matter because we're still grabbed by them in a scripted event, and they bring us to our first boss fight.
What the fuck?
Like most things in this game, we need to set the What the hell happened to his arm? Has he turned into Piccolo? We need to set their hive on fire. We need to blow it up. Here, have some mosquito spray. I like how you can see your wounds in cutscenes, but damn does it look ugly.
How'd you do this?
Not sure. It's like some sort of buried instinct. It's primal.
I don't think that blowing up bug sprays is a primal instinct.
There's something inside me, something dark and violent. I know I've done fucked up things in the past. I can feel it.
Yeah, it was kinda fucked up how you killed gangster zombies while dressed up as Santa Claus.
Hey, look on the bright side. You're in great shape for an old man.
Forgive me for not laughing. My dentures would fall out.
Hey, lighten up. At least we can trust each other.
Trust you? I don't know who you are, lady, and you didn't really do anything to earn my trust. Stop following me.
Okay. I know this is hard on you, but god damn it. Do you think all this is easy for me? We both feel alone right now, believe me.
Well, drop it.
And the award for most annoying characters goes to...
Well, drop it.
Edward is also tired of her bullshit.
Hey, I'm not a target. Ouch!
Even the enemies knew that she was annoying me, so they came to save me and took her away.
No.
We're getting close to the museum, but we need to deal with more cracks. Obviously I want to avoid the horrible quicktime events, so I burn it with my gun. Then I play with some wires, burn another one in the bathroom, check my health. What's up with your clothes, man? And then we meet a new enemy type. Whoa, is he throwing shurikens at me? They're tougher than the other zombies. They're stronger, but they're still weak to fire. After that we get to... we need to... save her. Why do you do this to me, game? Why are you trying to force me to pretend that I care about her? This is very romantic, trust me.
Hey, are you mad or what?
Oh shit, I was trying to shoot that bug, sorry. Why did it sound like a cartoon punch? We need to deal with some bugs. Multiple times. Then we get ambushed by like 10 enemies, but you know the drill by now. Grab a chair and burn everyone. Or maybe it's more like, grab a chair and play tag. Tag, you're it! We then have our second boss fight.
For you, there will be no mercy.
I'm not asking for mercy. Now let's see how you beg for mercy.
Edward isn't scared. It's the max pain inside of him. This boss also uses shurikens. We need to shoot his weak spots in order to damage him. He will often use his special attack. When that happens, we need to hide behind the pillars. Well, at least until he breaks them. He looks tough, but after you throw a few explosives at him, he goes down.
Son of a bitch.
Edward, it wasn't safe there. Ah, fuck! What is that?
It's, a dead issue. Sorry you missed the fun.
I'm really glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm not. But we don't really have much choice now, do we?
Edward has that Max Payne cynicism. We need to get inside, but we can't use the scanner ourselves. So we find a nearby guard and chop his arm off. It's okay, he's dead. He doesn't need it. We use the hand and move forward. We then fight some more enemies. Why do I have to get stun-locked in every Alone in the Dark game? We kill them and finally get to our destination.
About fucking time. You know, you're rather pretty when you're quiet.
Enough with the jokes. Just open it, will you?
I don't think that was a joke. He's basically telling you to shut up. We get inside of the room and find Theo's belongings. We find a picture of when he was younger than Edward, from like 70 years ago. And suddenly, fire. And then, ghosts. Remember how you can blink and close your eyes? Well... Finally, this mechanic becomes useful. Theo somehow became a ghost and came back to this room. Whenever we close our eyes, we can see him. He points at different objects in the room, and we need to look to where he's pointing. After a few times, we piece the information together to get this message.
Down. Sarah, I want you to...
Sarah, I want you to knock him down. Thanks, Theo. Sounds like you're gonna have to kick my ass.
But I don't want to hurt you.
This was very cool and creepy, but come on, you didn't need to boom your head and come back as a ghost just to tell her to knock Edward out. You could have written a note. I guess he didn't have a pen and paper on him, so this was more convenient. We then have a dream where he basically tells us that everything is happening because of Lucifer. Yes, Satan is real, but more importantly, he tells us that he was the one who released him, somehow. He makes it sound easy. I don't know how you managed to do that, but if that's true, you're more of a fuck-up than the scientists in Doom. At least they needed advanced technology to do that, and it kind of happened by accident there.
The devil is real. I know. I built his cage.
So the devil is released, but not entirely. He wants to get the stone so that he can truly be free and rule humanity. Honestly, this whole plot point is unnecessary. Theo didn't really need to die to give us this information. He could have just told us while we were driving or something, but I guess the developers wanted an excuse to make this set piece. This whole section was cool and creative, like a lot of things in this game. I want to say that it was unnecessary in terms of the story, but we do need to come here to get this item. We can combine it with our flashlight to reveal a symbol. We need to use it on this wall, which causes it to open. At the end of the dream, Theo tells us to go to Central Park. We move on while Sarah stays behind. There's more physics puzzles. This time, we need to use a forklift. To use it, you need to press the home and end buttons on your keyboard, which is fucked up. Who the fuck uses these buttons? I barely even remember they exist. This looks familiar. Am I playing Shenmue? Shenmue? We finally get outside, and we have another friendly chat with Crowley.
Just speak one little phrase and I can pull you out of there.
No, cut the dramatic bullshit, Crowley. What do you want?
The stone, Carnby. Just tell me you'll give it to me. Or must I be content with watching you dissolve into that black filth? You have 10 seconds.
Fuck off.
Here, let me give you something to think about.
I didn't realize the cutscene was over, and the black goo touched me. It's an instant death. This part was very annoying. You have to run around for like a minute until you're saved by a cutscene. Crowley saves us so he can take the stone.
Give it to me! Please!
But then a giant creature randomly crashes into the helicopter and we fall down. After the crash, we need to climb. How is it falling? Am I really that heavy that I'm able to pull a helicopter down?
Hey, Mr. Carnby! Are you okay?
I don't know why Crowley's helicopter pilot is worrying about me, but thanks. It was nice knowing you.
Hey, where the hell do you think you're going? Just get in here.
Get in here? Are you seriously telling me to get on a train that is clearly about to fall down? You probably think we get some NPC companions. But nope, they die. Something tells me this isn't safe. We then climb on its... if you think that's gross, wait until we get inside.
Hello there.
This reminds me of something.
Coochie, 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 coochie.
This is the thing that crashed into the helicopter. Cool. I probably said the word cool a lot throughout this video, but I won't say it anymore, because now we get to, by far, the worst part of this game. Suddenly, out of nowhere, she tells us that Lucifer has a tree, and it's sucking the life out of the earth. This sounds familiar. She also says that Edward needs to suck the life out of the tree, because somehow we can do that. What we need to do here is drive around, find these weird tentacles, these roots from Lucifer, and burn the shit out of them. When you're close to them, you get this annoying effect where it's like your screen is filled with water. At first, this doesn't seem so bad. You just drive, hope that the car physics don't fuck you up, fight some enemies, find a tentacle, and blow it up. Pretty standard stuff. Not a big deal. The best part about it is that if you die, the tentacles you destroyed will stay destroyed. You don't need to burn them again. So you think to yourself, oh, that's good, the game actually cares about me and doesn't want to waste my time. But then, when you're about to finish burning everything, the game is like,
oh, you're almost done. Here's 50 more tentacles. Have fun and be TW. Some of them are hidden away, and you have to burn them in a very specific way. Oh, and also if you die, you might lose the items in your inventory, including your explosive items. So now you can't burn the tentacles. So, you have to waste even more time by walking around and hoping you will find some explosives, then going back, not get killed, and burn. This shit sounds fun, right?
When you combine all of that with the overall jankiness of this game, it turns into such a slug. This whole section took at least half of my playthrough. Everything I did up until now, I did faster than this part. God damn. This is the definition of not fun. I even got GTA'd by a zombie, which was kinda funny actually, but you know what? I did it anyway. I burned Satan's hentai tentacles, and I moved on to the final area of the game. Well, almost final area. Now the game truly embraces its Uncharted inspirations. Not only are there multiple platforming sections, there are also ancient puzzles we need to solve in order to progress. This is probably the only part of the game where calling it Alone in the Dark actually makes sense. Throughout the game, we're not alone and it's not even dark. We either have someone with us or everything's on fire, or both. But now, we are alone, and it is mostly dark. We can't even turn our flashlight on. Satan won't allow it. Every puzzle has the same basic idea. Block the light source to make something in the environment move, which will allow you to progress. The first puzzle is just a warm-up. Pick up this thing and use it to block the light. The door opens and we go to the next area. The next puzzle is a bit trickier. It requires precise timing. We need to move this box to cover the light, which makes parts of the wall stick out. One of the parts moves the box away from the light, which causes the wall to go back to normal, which in turn causes this platform to rise and take us to the exit. Neat. The next one is more intense. Fire gradually creeps behind us. Something that always used to help us is now working against us. This creates a time limit. If we don't solve the puzzle fast enough, we burn. Or at least that's how it seems. The fire doesn't seem to progress any further than this. Whether that's a bug or a feature, I'll let you decide. There are spikes coming out of the floor, which can kill us in one shot. In order to make them disappear, we need to use this plank to cover the correct light sources. When done correctly, the door opens and we can proceed. We then need to avoid some moving pillars while riding on this platform. And then we get crushed.
No, 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 no! Wait! Wait!
What we need to do is move this thing here, grab a plank, go upstairs and burn the plank, burn the other planks, and wait for the platform to get us to the exit. Got it? Good. The last puzzle is the most intense. The ceiling is slowly coming down and it will crush us if we're not careful. We need to block the light sources to stop the ceiling from collapsing. And at the same time, we need to navigate through a dark maze with literal dead ends. This is the most trial and error sequence, but eventually we succeed. Now this next part was the last part of the game for me. In a little bit you will see why. There's a small thing at the top of this big thing, so I use a torch to light the planks on fire. I wait until they burn, I get the thing and I bring it here, because it's the only way to go. But what you actually need to do is grab a torch so you can read this.
Where the flame bends, the path extends.
And then the game crashed. Now, you see, the game does something really funny. A little prank, if you will. There are checkpoints in the game. Whenever you die, you restart from the last checkpoint, which is good. It's good, standard, normal stuff. But, if you quit the game, because you've got better things to do than make an Alone in the Dark video, or if the game crashes, then suddenly, the checkpoints don't work. When you come back and press continue, the game takes you all the way back to the beginning of the level. So I could not progress without doing all of this again. So I thought, hey, it's okay, this game has the option to skip to any part you want, right? They literally market this feature for some reason. So I thought, I can just skip ahead, right? Wrong. Turns out, you can skip to any part of the game except for the final part. You can only skip there if you burned at least 50 tentacles and completed 18 sequences in the game, which I'm pretty sure I did. But after I reloaded my save, I was back at the beginning of the level and the game tells me that I only did 16 sequences. At that point, I was done.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Hey! Did you find that funny?
This wasn't just the straw that broke the camel's back, it broke the entire camel. Technically, I could go back and replay some random sections of the game and then skip ahead. But first of all, I don't really want to do that. It's not fun, and also, I was afraid that something else might fuck up, and my progress would get deleted again. I already asked this, but I'll ask again. Why the fuck would you give players the option to skip your game, if we're not supposed to skip it? Why give us the option to skip parts of the game, if it will prevent us from finishing the game? I'm sorry, I really tried. I tried finishing it, but at this point, fuck this game. There's only a couple of small gameplay sections, and a few cutscenes left. I'm not going to waste any more time and replay parts of this game just for that. So I'll just use this video and explain to you what's going on. Okay? Okay. Just before my game crashed, we were supposed to use this thing to break this wall and meet this guy, who apparently was just chilling here all of this time. His name is Hermes and he is like 300 years old. He tells Edward that he split the stone in two and he was sitting in that room for centuries. Edward then decides to introduce him to the wonders of the modern automobile.
I think it's time to introduce you to the wonders of the modern automobile. Follow me.
They find a car and Sarah tells them that they only have a few minutes to get to the museum. Also, Hermes discovers what a cell phone is. There's a last car sequence, which I'm sure is really epic, and eventually they get to their destination. But they are a little late. This is the most intense part in the whole game. You don't know what to do. There's nothing you can do. I'm kidding, just shoot him in the head. I really don't know what the point of this villain was. He was basically a filler character.
I've had enough of your bullshit. Magical stones, monsters, prophecies. None of that means shit when you've got a bullet in the head, does it, Crowley?
Exactly. You're totally right, Max Payne. We go to the secret room, and Hermes uses his body and shadow to open a new path. He explains that he built this temple long ago, and that this is Lucifer's door to our existence. Both he and Edward put their half of the stone into this device, which then combines and shoots a laser into the door, causing it to open. Now that seemed really stupid to me, because he just explained that it's the door to Lucifer, so wouldn't opening the door bring Lucifer out, who will then kill us all? But then he says that, nah man, opening the door will somehow restore balance to the universe, he tells us that resurrecting Lucifer, the literal devil, will bring balance to the universe?
Okay.
It seems like Lucifer tries to take over Edward's body, but then Sarah tries to comfort him, so then Lucifer says, "Nah, man," and tries to take over her body instead. Hermes then tells Edward that he needs to choose. Either he shoots her, which will kill her and presumably kill the devil, or let her live and get the dumbest, most anticlimactic ending ever. Just watch.
Are you alright?
Do you love me?
Yes.
More than your memories?
They're the past.
Would you fight me? What will you do now? Kill me? How does it feel to be so alone?
I'm used to it.
Oh, you're used to being alone? Little baby gonna cry?
Gonna cry?
Stop complaining and do something. But no, he just leaves and the game ends. I guess Hermes and the devil awkwardly stood next to each other for a while, until the devil killed him and went outside to take over the planet. Also, I hate it when games do this. I'm not talking about romance in gaming, but when it happens, it needs to be convincing. It needs to be believable. If you think about it, they only knew each other for like a few hours. Yet our boy Edward here, out of the blue, admits that he loves her.
Yes.
Stop being so desperate. Then he walks away casually, like he told his wife that he forgot to buy groceries, or that he missed his post office appointment. Thank you, comment from 2015. This is a shit ending. Garbage. But what happens if you do shoot her? We finally get to the most infamous part of this game. This is almost like watching The Room all over again.
You must be kidding, aren't you?
What was that animation? This is already way better than the other ending.
The last free act of man was murder.
So was his first free act.
You're not a man anymore. There it is! There it is!
I'm the light bringer. I'm the fucking universe!
Men will stand against you!
Did you think I'd come alone?
Oh wow, okay, this ending is way dumber than the first one, but at the same time it's way better, because at least it's funny. Basically, both endings suck. In both endings, Lucifer escapes to our reality. The only difference is whose body he takes over. The host will always be either Edward or Sarah. He probably doesn't want to take over Hermes, because he looks scarier than the devil himself. I don't even know what he's doing with him at the end. And after all of that, after all of our suffering, after all of my suffering playing this game, it just ends. We didn't achieve anything, everything we did was pointless, and the planet is fucked. Not really the best story out there. Remember when this game was about pirates? I heard people saying that it was inspired by the movie, but I don't know. I didn't watch it.
My mommy says that there's nothing to be afraid of in the dark.
You must be kidding, aren't you?
So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Everything you might have heard about it throughout the years is probably true. The main thing that people say about it is that it's a game with really good and cool ideas, but with terrible execution. And honestly, that sums it up perfectly. That's this game in a nutshell, which is a shame, Really. Maybe if they delayed it for a year, or maybe if it came out today and was made with better technology, it might have been a good game. Hell, it might have been an amazing game. Every time I played it, I saw the potential. With some polish, a lot of polish, this could have been one of the best games of all time. I genuinely mean that. This could have been a game that was considered a classic, and people would have talked about it in a positive light until this day. But unfortunately, this is what we got, and it left a sour taste in my mouth. What started out as an okay-ish game with really creative and inventive moments ended in one of the worst endings I've ever experienced, both in the gameplay and the story. There's a version of this game for the PS3 called Alone in the Dark Inferno, which supposedly plays better and has some quality of life improvements. So that's nice, I guess. If you still haven't burned your PS3, give it a try. I really hope that the remake will turn this series around. I don't want it to burn and end up in this pathetic state. This was the series' legacy for so long, and that is sad. This franchise deserves better. The old games haven't aged well, but they made one of the biggest impacts in the gaming industry, specifically in the horror genre. The first remake didn't do anything special, but it was still enjoyable. This game tried to do a lot of things, and I can at least admire it for that. Despite everything I've heard and remembered about this game, I still wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, but it just didn't stick the landing. If you watched until now, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. This took me a really long time to make, but it was really interesting diving deep into this franchise. I love survival horror, so I had to check the franchise that basically created it. Resident Evil might be considered the father of survival horror, but this is the grandfather. For now, it's time to move on. I'll try to upload more frequently, but no promises. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me if I got something wrong, post a response video. Remember those? Anyway, see you later. Again, thanks for watching, and here's a cat video.
I've had enough of your bullshit. Magical stones, monsters, prophecies. None of that means shit when you've got a Lightbringer! I'm the fucking universe!